Today's episode, inspection properties. Hello and welcome to another incredible episode of whatever we call this show, Denovo Realty Radio / podcast / all of the things. I gotta get excited. I'm out of coffee. This is an empty glass that I'm gonna pretend to sip on throughout this episode.
The most important podcast on the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, Denovo Realty Radio.
All right, today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of buying a rental property. So if you are thinking about getting into the market and buying a rental property, this video is for you. Or if you already own a home and you're like, should I sell the property or should I rent it? So let's go over the pros and cons. Okay, so number one, cash flow, and probably the most important part of owning a rental property. So basic concept, you own a property, you're paying a mortgage on it, and now you're going to find a tenant to give you rent. So you want the tenant to be paying more in rent than your mortgage, and that is going to be considered your cash flow. So say we have a mortgage of $1,000 a month, we go out and we find a tenant, and they're going to pay $1,500 a month, you have a $500 a month cash flow. When you're looking at buying an investment property, that's really, step one of the basics is always make sure at your worst case, absolute worst case, you're breaking even, but ideally you want to have some cash flow every single month to cover any additional expenses, which we're going to get into in a second. Number two is going to be the property appreciation. So when you buy a property, the property ideally is going to go up in value year over year. So now you have someone paying your mortgage every month, and the property is also appreciating in value year to year over whatever percent the market is increasing. All right, on to number three, property depreciation. So this is actually a tax benefit. You can claim every year depreciation on the property to save money on your taxes. Now on to number four, buying a property in Florida. There is no state income tax, which you have in a lot of other states. So another benefit of buying a investment property in Florida. Number five, short-term rentals. So here in Brevard County, we have great opportunities for doing Airbnbs, VRBOs, and doing short-term rentals. This is a really great way to increase your monthly cash flow. So, there are some restrictions. You can't do them in every neighborhood. You can't do them in every city. So make sure when you're looking at buying an investment property, if you want to do a short-term rental, that there are no restrictions on doing that short-term rental. But I've seen in a lot of cases, versus an annual rent getting double of what or more of what you would get monthly. Now, there's of course some cons to that. When you buy a short-term rental property, it's going to be more work. You have tenants coming in and out. The property has to be cleaned. So that's going to take more work, but you're going to have the potential to double or even triple your monthly cash flow. Moving on to number six, the property taxes. Here in Florida, we have an average of 0.87% property taxes. National average is over 1%, it's like 1.07%. So we have a little lower property taxes annually. So another benefit of buying an investment property in Florida. All right, moving on to the cons. You have to maintain the property. Anything breaks, it's your responsibility to fix, which also brings up dealing with tenants and vacancies. So you do have the potential of not having someone in the property, then you could lose money for the month. And also, dealing with tenants and then paying on time can be a headache. Best thing to do, get good tenants up front. Not always easier said than done, but get the good tenant up front so you don't have problems. And moving on to number two, that is the lending side of it. Comparative to buying a primary residence where you can do, VA loans at 0% down to FHA and conventional loans 3.5% down. Lenders will want a minimum of 20% down for the most part. You will be able to find some that might be able to do 15 or less, but 20% is the standard for buying an investment property. All right, so moving on to the third con. If you own the home already, you will lose your Homestead Exemption, so your taxes will go up, and that's going to be the same thing with your homeowner's insurance. They are going to look at it as a riskier investment than it would be if it was your primary residence, so your homeowner's insurance and taxes will go up. All right, so that's the pros and cons of buying an investment property. It's one of the best ways to build money over time, have someone else pay off a debt, you're providing a place for someone to live, and you're building your equity. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Now go!